Right, hello and welcome to Popalong RC. I am going to do a video. I'm not too sure how long it's going to be. It might well be a short one on the Corally SSX125 pan car. Now, if you've been following our journey, you'll know that we got these cars. I got the carbon version, Carl got the alley version, and we spent the last 2 months thereabouts racing these cars, dialing them in, chatting to people, chatting to some pros actually on how to get these cars set up. They are not set up as an an LMP car. They are set up as an LMGT3 car, which is a newish class in the UK. So I am going to, without further ado, take the shell off and talk you through all the things that I've done, because actually the car is handling real nice right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what I've done in the hope that if you get one, I can help you out a bit. Okay, so the shell is obviously now off. So just a quick thing about the LMGT3 class. So as I said, it's a relatively new class in the UK, and this class we use a 25.5 turn just stock system, a hobby wing system. Well, I've got the hobby wing system, and we use a 2S lipo, and it's kind of in the hope that it will get sort of new people into sort of the pan car experience. So if you are a driver which has been driving off-road cars, you might well have a few bits lying around you can stick in your new car if you wish. So the recommended retail price is around about 230 quid. So it is not an expensive car, because there are ones out there probably around about the £370 mark. The car is great value for money. I can vouch for that. It's been a really good car, pretty solid, and I've got it into a good window now. So let's talk about some of the things and some of the changes that I've done to this car. So when you get your car, you will have to build these little shock damper type things, these side ones. Now, it does say in the manual to use a red spring. Do not use the red spring. Leave it out. Don't have any springs in there. And what you do is, or what I've done, is just coat these in 12,000 CST oil, and that will give you enough damping to get around any of the tracks which you will be racing on. So that's the first thing I've changed on this car. The second thing I've changed are the turnbuckles. I thought the turnbuckles that come with it were they looked a little bit flimsy, so they're probably okay. I changed these are the Schumacher ones here, so I've changed those as well. In the manual it doesn't tell you, but there is a orangey red O-ring. It doesn't tell you where to put. So if you're a noob to this kind of stuff, you're not going to know where it goes. It goes in here, right? There's a recess in here, and it goes in here. Now, to set the rear pod up, what we've done, and we had this inside knowledge from some of the pros, this gap here. If you set this gap here, so you put your gauge in there to 3.5, that will give you just enough ride height and droop to obviously get this car around. You know, some tracks are bumpier than others, so that's what we were told, and it's worked. You need about 1mm. There's a grub screw in there. You need about 1mm of clearance for that grub screw, just to give you about the right amount of droop there. Next thing, you will notice that I've changed the spur gear over to a 48DP spur gear. Now, this was a bit of a problem. So the LMGT3 class, this just stock motor, the rotor in it is slightly shorter than most motors, right? So I've checked this. So a lot of the motors that I've got have a longer shaft, if you will, to put the pinion on. The pinion is just about hanging on this car, right? It's just about hanging on. So a little bit frustrating. That is absolutely no fault of Corally, because they didn't know we were going to use stock motors in these cars. Normally, the LMP scene, especially in the UK, it's a stock. I don't think many people run modified. They do it, but mainly it's your 13.5s, and that will fit just fine in here. So if you're racing this as an LMP car, which of course that's what it's designed for, if you use 64DP, I think you'll be just fine. But Some of the other pinions that I was using, aluminium ones, just really wouldn't work. I stripped about 3 spur gears and I just got fed up with it in the end, so I've gone over to this, and this is a 60 tooth. I've been recommended to run a 60 tooth 48 dp spur, and the pinions will range from 30 up to 35 dependent on tyre wear. So just a bit of information on that. Okay, side springs. Let's move over to these. Now, these side springs here, I was told by some of the pros that when you lift the front up, the side spring should just about touch, which it does. And then on the other side, it should do the same thing. I've not got a battery in here, so it might be off a little bit. Let's just have a look here. Yeah, it's just a little bit off. Maybe that needs a bit of a tweak, but they need to just about touch. There is a trick you can do with a penny. So you put a penny on each tyre, you lift it up, and then if the penny falls off, you tweak the grub screws, which are, let me just see, where are they gone? Grub screws. Oh, there you go. You tweak these grub screws until they stay on. Now, I did do that trick, and do you know what? I've got to be honest with you, I found it pretty useless. Pitman Dave, friend of the channel, he's got what they call a tweak station. Unfortunately, I didn't get it on camera. I put this car on the tweak station, and I thought it was brilliant. I think it was really, really good way of setting the car up. So I'll do another video on that if he lets me borrow it. I'll show you exactly how to do that. I used 100,000. Seems like a lot, doesn't it? But I used 100,000 on the springs inside the wheels here. You will see a spring. Let me just zoom you in. Oh, it's a bit dirty, isn't it? So there's a spring up the top there. I just used it on there. You want to use thick oil really, so it doesn't run off. So I've put that on there, and then the rear spring here on this shaft, I've again gone with 100,000 weight. Might seem a bit excessive, and some of you out there who know way more about this scene than me may, you may not agree with me, but for my driving, it seems to have really the car is really planted now. I was also advised to add, if you look in here, I've added a 2mm shim, so I've got 2mm of caster. A lot easier to drive the car, so I've done that. And I have also put some spacers in here as well, just to push those steering rods there just a little bit more rearward towards the centre of the car. And again, it's a lot easier to drive. So the tyres of choice for this car are the Contact JT238 USR 43mm tyres, and I have not trued them, right? So this car is set up for a ride height that's pretty good at 43mm per tyre. The ride height is a little bit high on this car. I'm running about 5mm at the back and 4mm at the front, and obviously as the tyres wear, it will get closer to the ground. You will also see that I've taken some screws out of here and here. That's another way you can tune these cars up, by loosening screws or taking them out. Obviously not to the degree where the car's going to fall apart. That would be very, very silly. Apparently it just gives it a little bit more flex. You will also see that I have removed the bar. There's a bar that goes from here to here. I've taken that out because I just like my cars to be super duper grippy up front. That's another tuning option if you wish. Okay, so on to the pros and cons of this car. Let's talk about the cons first. Right, when building this car, the front ride height was it was difficult. Let me tell you, right? So basically in here you have two little tiny red spaces. I've got one underneath and one up the top, okay? And that is now set, and I'm not going to change that. It's not a job that I would want to do trackside, personally. My eyes are not amazing, and I'm always dropping things. But that's, I've set it up to have one underneath and one up the top, and that gives me just about perfect ride height for the tyres that I'm using. As I said earlier, the pinion is just literally hanging on to the end of the shaft, right? So you need, I think you can actually invest in long reach pinions, which might be an idea. I'm not too sure, but I'm trying to use the pinions that I've already got. These are the core pinions, and they are the slightly wider ones. They do an aluminium one, which is too thin. I was having issues, but that seems to be a really good product. So again, good for this car. So on to the pros. Not many cons if you ask me, but the pros are obviously it's a cheaper car. We ordered spares for this car just in case we needed them, and they came really quickly. They was all in stock, which is really good. I know that you can buy these cars in the UK. They're pretty much in most big sort of model shops and things like that. I think another pro of the actual class itself, I've really enjoyed racing this car. It's not too dissimilar from the pace of the GT12 cars that are running in most clubs. So, you know, if there's clubs willing to sort of throw you in with those guys, you're not going to be a million miles away from the pace of those sort of cars. It's a really good class to get involved in if you want to sharpen up your skills as well. And it's quite forgiving, to be quite honest. It's not as twitchy as a GT12. That I've been told. I don't run GT12, so I wouldn't really know. So there you go. Look, that is a little kind of update on the Corally SSX125 LMP car. So if you've got any questions, or if you've got one and you've got any tips for me, you know, stick them in the comments. Like, I am not a pro racer. As much as Carl says I am, I'm not, obviously. So, you know, I'm just kind of fumbling around, getting this ready. I don't think there's any setup sheets at the moment on this car, so I'm shooting in the dark a bit with it. But I am taking advice from lots of people I've met trackside. For all of those people that have helped, thank you very much. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, hit the old ding dong bell, and we'll see you on another one.